Welcome back to our podcast where we help you master the most important English sentences for your daily life.
Today, we're going to discuss how to talk about your family, which is a very common topic.
For our first phrase today, Sarah, can you tell us what people mean when they say immediate family?
Your immediate family includes only your closest relatives, such as your parents, your brothers, and your sisters.
That is very clear. So, does that mean my aunts, uncles, and cousins are not part of that group?
You are correct, because those relatives belong to a different category that we call your extended family.
So, when is the best time for a student to use the phrase immediate family in a real conversation?
You use it when you are discussing who lives in your house or who is coming to dinner tonight.
Could you please provide a clear example sentence so our listeners can hear exactly how to use it properly?
Of course. You can say, I am only inviting my immediate family to my small birthday celebration this weekend.
That is very helpful. So let us move on to the next common family sentence, which is siblings.
Siblings is simply a more formal and general word that refers to both your brothers and your sisters.
Is it better to use this word in a professional setting, or can I use it with my friends?
It is useful in both settings, but it is especially useful when you do not want to list everyone.
When is the most appropriate time for a student to use this word during a typical English introduction?
You can use it when someone asks you, how many brothers or sisters do you have in your family?
Can you please provide an example sentence for our listeners so they can practice using siblings correctly today?
You can say, I have 3 siblings, including 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister who lives in London.
That is a great explanation. So now let us discuss the meaning of the phrase, to take after someone.
When you take after someone, it means that you look like or act like a specific member of your family.
Does this phrase only refer to how a person looks, or can it also describe their unique personality traits?
It can refer to both, such as having your father's eyes or having your mother's very kind and patient heart.
When should a learner use this phrase if they are showing a family photo to a new group of friends?
You can use it to explain why you and your parents share the same smile or the same hobbies.
Could you please provide a clear example sentence for our listeners to practice with their own family members?
You can say, everyone says that I really take after my grandmother because we both love gardening and cooking.
That is a very sweet expression. Now, what do people mean when they say someone is an only child?
An only child is a person who has no brothers or sisters and is the only child of their parents.
Is there a specific way to say this that sounds more natural than saying, I have 0 siblings in English?
Yes, simply saying, I am an only child is the most natural and common way to share that information.
Can you provide an example sentence for our listeners who might be the only child in their specific family?
You can say, I am an only child, so I spent a lot of time playing with my cousins growing up.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, Sarah, please explain the very interesting phrase, the black sheep.
The black sheep refers to a person who is very different from the rest of their highly successful family.
Is this usually a mean thing to say, or can it be used in a funny way between close friends?
It can be both, but usually it describes someone who chooses a very different path than their relatives did.
When is the most appropriate time to use this phrase to describe a relative who is a bit unusual?
You can use it when talking about someone who became an artist, while everyone else became a serious lawyer.
Can you provide an example sentence for our listeners to hear how to use the black sheep in context?
You can say, my brother is the black sheep of the family because he loves traveling while we prefer staying home.
I love that idiom. Now let us talk about a very important family phrase, which is to bring up.
To bring up someone means to care for them and teach them how to behave while they are growing up.
Is this the same thing as raising a child? And can these two phrases be used in the same way?
Yes, they are very similar, but bringing up often focuses more on the manners and values you were taught.
When should a student use this phrase when they are talking about their childhood and their hometown?
Use it to talk about your history, such as where you were born and who taught you your important values.
Could you please provide a clear example sentence for our listeners who want to talk about their own upbringing?
You can say, I was brought up in a very small village where everyone knew each other and helped out.
That is very helpful. Finally, Sarah, what does it mean when people say it runs in the family?
This phrase is used when many members of the same family share a specific quality, talent, or medical condition.
Does this only apply to physical things like hair color, or can it also apply to being good at music?
It definitely applies to both, such as a family of doctors or a family where everyone is very good at sports.
Can you provide a final example sentence for our listeners to use when they discuss their family's special talents?
You can say, my sister and I are both great painters, so I guess artistic talent really runs in the family.
Thank you so much for explaining all of these wonderful family-related sentences for our loyal listeners today, Sarah.
It was my absolute pleasure, and I hope everyone feels more confident talking about their loved ones in English.
That was a great start, so now let us dive into the vocabulary for when people decide to get married.
I think that is a wonderful idea, because many students get confused when they talk about their new relatives.
To start things off, Sarah, can you please explain what we mean when we use the term in-laws?
In-laws are the people who become your relatives only because you are legally married to their son or daughter.
That makes sense, but do I have to name every person individually, or is there a general way to say it?
You can use in-laws as a general group, but specifically you will have a mother-in-law and a father-in-law.
When is the most appropriate time for a student to use this term when they're introducing their family?
You should use it when you are explaining who you are visiting during the holidays or special family events.
Could you please provide a clear example sentence so our listeners can hear how to use it in a conversation?
Of course. You can say, we are traveling to the countryside this weekend to visit my in-laws for a big dinner.
That is very helpful. So now let us discuss the difference between a fiancé and a spouse in English.
A fiancé is the person you are engaged to marry, while a spouse is the person you are already married to.
Is spouse a word that people use in casual conversation, or is it mostly used for official legal documents?
It is often used in formal situations, but it's a very helpful word because it can mean husband or wife.
When should a learner use the word fiancé instead of just saying my boyfriend or my girlfriend to others?
You should use it after the proposal has happened to show that you are planning a wedding in the future.
Can you please provide an example sentence for our listeners who might be getting married very soon?
You can say, my fiancé and I are currently looking for a beautiful venue for our wedding ceremony next summer.
That is very exciting. Now, Sarah, what does it mean when someone says they have a blended family?
A blended family is formed when two people marry and bring children from their previous relationships into one new home.
Does this mean that the children in the house will have stepbrothers or stepsisters living with them now?
Exactly. And the parents become step-parents to the children who are not biologically their own from the start.
When should a student use the term blended family to describe their own unique home life to their friends?
It is a very positive and modern way to describe a large family that has come together through marriage.
Could you provide a clear example sentence for our listeners who might live in a big blended family?
You can say, we have a very happy blended family with 5 children who all get along very well together.
That sounds like a very busy house. Now, can you explain the phrase to settle down to our audience?
To settle down means to start living a quiet and stable life, usually by getting married and buying a house.
Does this phrase imply that the person was living a very wild or busy life before they made this change?
Not necessarily, but it suggests that they are now ready for more responsibility and a long-term commitment in one place.
When is the best time for a learner to use this phrase when talking about their future goals and dreams?
You can use it when people ask if you want to travel the world or if you want to start a family.
Can you provide an example sentence for our listeners to hear how to use settle down in a natural way?
You can say, after traveling for many years, I am finally ready to settle down and find a permanent home.
That is a great goal. Finally, Sarah, what do people mean when they talk about a family reunion?
A family reunion is a big event where many relatives, including those who live far away, meet to celebrate together.
Is this usually a small dinner, or can it be a very large party with many different generations of people?
It is usually a very large gathering that can last for a whole weekend and includes many different activities for everyone.
When should a student use this phrase when they are explaining their summer plans to their coworkers or friends?
You should use it when you are traveling back to your home country to see all of your relatives at once.
Can you provide a final example sentence for our listeners to use when they describe their upcoming family plans?
You can say, I am very excited because my family is having a huge reunion in the mountains this coming July.
Thank you so much for teaching us these advanced family terms that will help our listeners speak more like natives.
It was my pleasure, and I hope these sentences help everyone share their beautiful family stories with the world today.